What's going on, everyone? This is Erik with Full Man MMA, and today I am joined by undefeated UFC bantamweight Jack Shore. Jack, thank you so much for joining me.
No problem, mate. Very good to be here again.
Of course, and I know you just got to New York for UFC on ABC 3 next weekend. Have you been to New York before?
I've been here a couple of years. Well, I say a couple of years. 10 years ago, as a youngster, I came on like a school trip, but I've never been to fight or to do anything fight related or as an adult. So yeah, it's good to be back. I love the East Coast. I've got a lot of friends over here, a lot of supporters. Grew up listening to a lot of New York music, so it's nostalgic for me to be here and sort of be in the same city as a lot of people that I'm big fans of.
Yeah, I was gonna say I saw you making the Long Island rounds on Instagram. You see your buddy Matt Serra yet?
Not yet. No, we trained at Longos yesterday, and I had a catch up with him, but I haven't seen Matt yet. But I'm sure he'll be floating about fight week.
I have to ask. I mean, this is a really great fight card that you're a part of. It's going to be on ABC, so there's going to be a lot more viewers perhaps than like a typical ESPN Plus card. But the UFC is going to be back in London again the following week after your fight. Was there ever any talk of you being on that card instead?
No, I mean, originally, obviously, when the London date got announced, that's what we asked for. That's what we would have obviously preferred, in terms of travel and stuff like that. It's a lot easier and a lot financially better for me to fight in the UK. But it is what it is. It's done now. I'm not going to keep harping on about how I should have been on the London card. But I think they will understand, when the fight night comes around, that not having a big Welsh contingency, and they will play a part with the atmosphere. I'm not saying that the atmosphere won't be electric. I'm sure it will, but the Welsh fans bring a little extra buzz. So I would have liked to have gone on there, but I'm still happy to be out here in New York to get it done and experience a fight and a fight week out here as well.
Absolutely, and you're fighting a veteran in Ricky Simone. I believe he's ranked 11 right now. Was he somebody you were looking to fight? Like, how did this matchup come together in particular?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I got the ranking after my last fight, and then obviously wanted to try and fight guys who were above me rather than fight a guy who wasn't in the rankings. So yeah, Ricky was a guy I wanted to fight with. Real good fighter. Been in there with the best of the best. Beat a lot of really good guys, and he's solid everywhere. So it's a type of fight that excites me. I know the better the opponent, the better I perform, and the more switched on I am. So it's what I'm looking forward to.
He's, as I said, he's been around the UFC for a long time now. I'm sure you are familiar with him as a rising bantamweight yourself. How do you see this fight going with Ricky? As you said, he's strong everywhere. Kind of known for his wrestling very much. But yeah, what are your thoughts on him as an opponent and how this fight could look come Saturday?
Yeah, look, I really highly rate Ricky. I think he's probably the most well-rounded and most well-skilled opponent I've faced. Like you said, he's a very, very good wrestler. Obviously, he's got power in his hands as well, but I think his bread and butter is his wrestling. I expect it to be a fast-paced fight. I expect him to come and push and look to push me back and utilize those power shots to set up his wrestling. Obviously, I want to do the opposite. And I welcome a fast pace, I want to keep things on my terms and dictate. I'll be more happy to meet him in the middle. I'm not going to spend the entire fight running on the back foot, trying to avoid the wrestling exchanges and stuff like that. I'll be happy to meet him head on, and we'll see where the fight goes. I always fight better when I don't necessarily think too much into the game plan. I know he's a very good wrestler. I know he's got power in his hands, but I'm a very good wrestler, and I've got power in my hands. So I'm just going to go out there and see where the fight goes, see what happens, and play it by ear. That's when I have my best performances. So it's one I'm looking forward to. And I know just how good he is, and that's very motivating to me to go out there and show my level as well.
Well, people are very high on you in the division, especially after going 5-0 in your run so far. You kind of touched on it in your last answer, but do you anticipate Ricky being your toughest test to date?
Yeah, I for sure. I mean, on paper, he's definitely my toughest test in terms of, his record, being ranked number 11 or 12 or wherever he is, the caliber of guys he's fought. So on paper, he's definitely my toughest test. But if you look back on my career, it almost tends to be the tougher the test, the better I look. And, fingers crossed and that all goes well. I can emphasize that again on Saturday and make a very good level guy one of my better performances and show just, you know, show what I'm capable of doing. I know I'm 5-0 now in UFC and I'm ranked, but I've got plenty left in the locker that I haven't even let people see yet, you know. So it's a fight I'm looking forward to, sort of showing all my skills and how well versed I am in every area.
Absolutely. What would a win over somebody like Ricky do for you in the division? Obviously, he's ranked a couple spots ahead of you at the moment, but also just his history in the division is so impressive. Like, what would that do for your name, for your confidence, and obviously for your ranking if you pull out the victory come Saturday night?
Well, I think it solidifies, you know, it obviously solidifies me in a spot to knock on for some really big fights against some big names, you know, guys who are household names that people know. But also, like I sort of touched on earlier, if I go in there and I beat Ricky and I look good doing it, you know, we all know it's going to show everyone the level that I believe and that my coaches believe I'm at. We know just how good he is. He's been in there with some of the best guys in the world. You know, people like Murad, Rob Font, you know, Uriah Faber. He's been in there with the best of the best. So if I can go out there and beat him, then it shows, you know, what does that say about me? That shows I deserve to be in the mix of all these top guys. And you know, there's a lot of not unanswered questions, but there's a lot of rawness to me, I suppose, in a way. I've only had 5 fights in the UFC, so and I'm a young guy. But I think a win over him will not only push me up the rankings, but it'll start to open even more eyes to people to show that, you know, that this guy from this small little town in the mountain in the UK, in Wales, that he's legit and he's got skills to mix it with the best in the world, and that he's got a legit chance of becoming champion one day in the future.
Well, it's got to be a pretty exciting spot to be in, especially considering, at least I firmly believe that the bantamweight division is the most exciting in the UFC. I think top to bottom in that top 15, even top 20, 25, no other division stacks up in terms of talent, in terms of excitement. And now that you are in the rankings and you have an opportunity to move up a couple of spots, are there any matchups in that top 15 that really excite you down the road, maybe in the next year or so?
Yeah, I mean, I don't like look too far ahead, but there's obviously every name that's ranked them is a big fight, whether they rank behind me or whether they rank in front of me. You know, it would mean a lot to maybe get in there with some of these legends, you know, like your Pedros and your Dominic Cruzes and your Frankies and your Aldos, these guys who I grew up watching, you know, as a teenager, the guys I was fans of in the sport, you know, especially people like Frankie and Cruz and Aldo, you know, they are guys, they're some of my all-time favorite fighters, especially as a youngster. So what a story or what a chapter in the book that one would be, you know, to say, look, I grew up watching these guys, now I'm stood opposite, I'm fighting them. But, you know, I'm not looking past Ricky. I know I've got to get through him first, and I've got to not just get through him, but I've got to look good doing it as well. So, but, you know, ultimately there's some real fun sort of legacy fights on the back end of this one if I can pull off the win.
Absolutely. Your last fight, I believe, was just in March, correct?
Yeah.
So it's been just about 4 months since your last fight. Is that kind of like the perfect timing for you to stay active? Is like that 4-month period?
Yeah, it's perfect. You know, I've sort of been unlucky the last 2 or 3 years. I seem to be having like these 6 to 9 months gaps between fights because of injury, and before the injuries, it was COVID and stuff like that. I mean, this has been perfect. I haven't really been out the gym. I took a week off after my last fight and was straight back to help my teammates prepare. So it's ideal. It's a perfect time frame. It helps me stay in shape. It keeps me motivated. And, you know, it also gives me that little bit of, you know, a month to 6 weeks in between where I can just focus on technique and focus on getting better for a little bit. It's perfect. You know, I want to be active, and providing all goes well, it'd be nice to get out again before the end of the year as well.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. That's good to hear. I always like asking this, like we are about halfway through 2022 right now. You're ranked 14, you're facing number 11. By the time 2022 is over, let's say you do get this one more fight in, where do you realistically see yourself in the division going into the new year?
It'd be great to be top 10. You know what I mean? The goal at the beginning of this year was to, you know, for the first fight of this year was to beat Valiev and let's push for that ranking spot. Now I've got a ranking spot. It'd be great to push up the rankings. You know, I've cracked the top 15. It'd be great to crack the top 10 going into 2023. Then we can start looking at top 5 and onwards. You know, the fights only get tougher as we go. And you know, I just for being a fan of the sport, you tend to see the top 10 guys. They don't fight as regular. You know, because the fights are so tough. You know, you got to give a lot to training camp. So they're only getting 1 or 2 fights a year. So it'd be nice to get a busy year this year. If I got to take my foot off the gas a little bit in order to get some big fights next year, maybe 1 or 2, then I'll do that. But like I said, ultimately I want to be active, and I'd love to crack that top 10.
Yeah, and who knows, maybe a year or two down the line, we could be looking at the first Welsh champion in the UFC. What would that mean for you to be the first person from Wales to get the belt, and how much does that motivate you going into these fights?
It'd be iconic, wouldn't it? It'd be something for it's one of those things. It'd go down in the history book. It'd be something that no one could ever take away from me, being the first Welsh champion, or even bringing a show to Wales, whether the title or not is involved, to be the first guy that headlines a UFC Wales, or to even be the guy that kept on that much of Dana, and the guys decided they were going to come to the valleys and put on a fight show. That's motivating as well. I'm not motivated by titles and money and stuff like that. It's going down in the history boxes, the stuff that I look at. I've done it as an amateur in Wales. I sort of laid the foundation, laid the path for the amateurs coming through, and I've almost done it at pro. There was guys like Brett and Brett Johns and Jack Marshall that laid the path for me to get the UFC. But in terms of on the domestic scene, no one really sold out an arena in Wales before me on the Cage Warrior scene. I was the first guy to do that. I was the first guy to amass this unbeaten streak and take out all these undefeated guys on my way. I never done things the easy way. I always took the hard route, and I think I laid a legacy before coming to the UFC, and I like to think I can continue to do so now. I look at guys like Joe Calzaghe and Floyd Mayweather, who, they had all the titles in the world and they had all the money in the world, but it didn't necessarily mean a lot to them. The stuff like the unbeaten record and Calzaghe fighting in the Millennium Stadium and fighting Roy Jones Jr. in New York or Vegas. That stuff that when you ultimately retire and call it a day, that's the stuff that people look back on, so it would be great to do all that stuff as well. But obviously the title would be the icing on the cake, to be the first Welsh champion would be something that would not even that, and I guess I'm the front runner now for the first Welsh champion, but even to be, a Welsh UFC champion, it would go down in history. And, I plan to do it. I'm focused on doing it. And, I can't give any more to this career. I've dedicated my life to it from 6 years of age. I've been grinding and in the gym every single night. And I've sacrificed time away from friends, family. I'm an home bug. I love being at home with my missus and my dogs and my mother and my father and my sister and all my friends. I don't like to travel. I don't like travel. I like it when I'm here, but I don't necessarily like to travel. I don't like spending time away from those. But I know it's the sacrifices I got to make in order to give me that shot, to put me where I want to be. And I couldn't give no more to this sport over the 20 years I've been in it now. So the next couple of years, it's starting to pay off, and I've dedicated everything to it. And I plan on getting my rewards for doing so.
Oh, well said. Well said. And preparing for this interview, I was listening to some episodes of your podcast. And it's clear to me that you are obviously a fighter, but also a fight fan. So with that in mind, I kind of wanted to ask you, removing yourself from the equation, from the title picture for a minute, looks like we're going to get Aljamain Sterling versus TJ Dillashaw later this year. I was wondering, as a fan, what does that matchup look like to you? And I guess as a fighter, if you could break it down, who do you think has the edge there?
It's a real battle of, I don't want to call it a striker versus grappler, excuse me, because obviously Aljo can strike and TJ can wrestle and grapple, but I think ultimately TJ's going to want to keep it on the feet, and Aljo's going to want to drag him to the mat. And based on the Peter Yan performance, I really do think Aljo can do that. I think TJ is a really, really good striker, but I just think if Aljo can get a hold of him and drag him down, especially with the size and the strength difference, that I really do think he can get it done. Obviously, there's a lot of other factors. TJ's a very high-level wrestler, but I don't know what his jiu-jitsu's like. It's the thing that Aljo seems to crack so well is he can wrestle, fairly well, but when he gets into sort of certain transitions and certain positions, he tends to just find his way to that back, and that's his bread and butter. He's so good at it, and he just knows how to put himself in that position. And you've seen him do it against Yan, who's never really been in a bad spot in a fight before that fight. So to do it to him, if he can get TJ there, then I think it could be a bad night for him.
Yeah, absolutely. Jack, it's already been about 15 minutes, so I want to make sure that you have enough time for the rest of the day. You had a lot of travel recently. But before I do let you go, I wanted to give you the floor real quick. Anything you wanted to shout out or promote? I'll let you talk to the audience.
Yeah, obviously shout out my coaches, my teammates, my sponsors, obviously my girlfriend and my family back home. Everyone, if you haven't seen it already, go and check out the Tank That podcast. It's on my YouTube channel, Jack Tank Show. We're growing, you know, we're doing our best. We're getting content out as much as we can, and you know, it's nice to host a podcast, you know, for a change, rather than be on the opposite end of being a guest. So I'm enjoying it, and yeah, check it out, like, share, subscribe, all the usual stuff if you haven't already.
Absolutely. We'll make sure to link that in the description below. But Jack, best of luck. Just a couple days now. Hopefully all goes well, and we'll talk to you after the win.
Thank you, brother. Top man.
Hey everyone, thanks for watching this video. If you like our content, be sure to subscribe to Full Man MMA. And while you're at it, make sure to hit the bell icon as well so you never miss an update from us.